Here on Joy News, we are having a security week. We've noticed a number of things have sort of come together at the same time as challenges for the nation in terms of security. So we have a threat from the Salafi jihadists in Burkina Faso. We have kidnappings going on. We've got unexplained killings of a journalist and others. We've got threats to the lives of other journalists. We've got cybersecurity concerns as well. And in the midst of all this, celebrities are drawing guns on stage. So we thought we'd spend some time learning how to be more security conscious, you and I, so that we can all play our role in providing personal, community and national security. To help us with today's segment, which is to focus on how to spot suspicious behavior and packages in public places, let's welcome Dr. Vladimir Danso. He is a lecturer at the Armed Forces Training College. We'll be going live with him. Oh, there he is. But just before we come to Dr. Danso, let's take some very important pointers on how to stay safe and how to spot suspicious packages and behavior. So many of these tips we'll be sharing with you in the coming days. But right now, Dr. Vladimir Danso joins us from the Armed Forces Staff College, where he's going to help us understand how you and I can be a bit more vigilant when we're out in public places, how to spot suspicious behavior and suspicious packages. Doc, good morning. Thank you so much for being patient and waiting with us. But the time is now. Where to begin? What are some of the places where we frequent, where we ought to engage our, security consciousness a bit more the minute we arrive at such places?
Well, good morning to the viewers, cherished viewers. The point is this, that charity begins at home. The point is, if you yourself are not meticulous about your environment, there is no way you are going to spot anything untoward in any other place that you visit. I've always said that you go to the Accra Mall, you go to the West Hill Mall, wherever you would go, those things over there are new to you. So you wouldn't be able to spot anything unless you are seriously security conscious. Some of us enter these malls and we want to look for, first and foremost, a thing like exit. You look at how people are moving and you ask yourself, if anything happens, where am I going to run through? You look for signs also. For example, you go to the Accra Mall, you ask yourself, what are the signs for exit, when there is anything untoward? Where is the assembly point? Where are the fire hydrants and that sort of thing? No, if there are no signs towards these places, you've got to be very cautious. But unless you train yourself towards these things, unless the public is made aware of these things, you enter these places and you are not conscious about anything. I don't know whether you've seen the film as to how the Colombo bombings came.
Yes.
You saw the guy was with a haversack at the back like a schoolboy, greeting people left and right, and even touched a little boy.
Yes.
Or was it a girl?
A little child, yes.
Letting people know that he's not harmful. He was a very innocuous person. You wouldn't ascribe any ill motive to him. And he entered the church quietly and detonated whatever he had in the haversack. But if the church had had some little exercises for security, some persons would have noticed that he is not a member of the church. Somebody would have accosted him and said, "Can I help you?" And things like that. We don't do that here, especially here where we play the big man's game. If you are a little popular, you enter a place, you are given all the things that you need. And then you move through and people follow you. And nobody is anxious about your own security and the security of people around. Yeah. So first and foremost, we need to start by making people security conscious. That you enter a place and you sure that there is something not there, something is not going on very well.
Yeah.
We can't have that until we train ourselves to that.
Now, you make an important point that if you go into a public place where you don't spend most of your days, you are not likely to be the one to notice what is amiss or what is wrong. And we noticed that when we did the test at the mall with the backpack, we noticed that when we put out the video, the reactions of the public, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, well, if you really wanted to test people, you should have let the person dress in some Muslim garb, because that is what people would have noticed and suspected to be a terror." So they were expecting the danger to come dressed in a way that they would recognize. I wonder, what exactly should people look out for if you're going to spot someone who doesn't belong? What should you look out for?
That is the sad part of the whole situation. You don't necessarily judge a book by its cover. The dressing of the person, the behavior of the person may send signals, but then you yourself must be you note yourself into a certain kind of your mindset. Look, the terrorists are not all dressed in Islamic garbs. That's wrong. They may be in a good suit, nice tie, wanting to cause some havoc. Most terrorists do not advertise themselves. I gave you the example of that guy who entered the church in Colombo and detonated the haversack.
Yeah.
Look at how he was dressed and nice looking, and was trying to share some jokes with some little girl being carried by the mother. It was very interesting. I mean, if you were standing there, you would never even think that this guy was going to kill so many people that he killed that day, 22 of them or so. The point is this, that, look, all you see is that there is a certain behavior which is untoward. I'll give you an example. I think Solenko, or the guy, whatever, the comedian, was with me on a plane coming to Ghana. in Dubai, some young men, Ghanaians, dressed in Islamic garbs, joined the plane. And the behavior of one of them was such that I was suspicious. Everybody was. The way he was behaving, the thing he was putting under himself, and he was dressed like he was in a skirt, bearded, heavily bearded, and his behavior was suspicious. I quickly called the attention of the stewards on the plane, and he was accosted to the back and searched thoroughly. Solenko was telling me, hey, Masa, it's like I had the courage. I mean, why wouldn't I? Why do I think that I shouldn't do such a thing? And then when there is something on the plane, when we would be about 33,000 feet above sea level before I act. So I acted quickly because it was, I mean, and when he came, he started speaking Chi. And I said, Bema, the way you behaved, everybody was uncomfortable. So watch out. So these are some of the things. I mean, you have the instinct that something is untoward, and you go for it. But if you say just because the person is dressed in a certain thing, he's a terrorist, you are making a mistake. Just watch the behavior of the person. He could be dressed in a suit. He could be dressed in one of the best kind of kaba and slate. But then just watch out the behavior. Just watch out the way he talks, the way he's behaving. And just be suspicious about everything and about everybody in this era of terrorism.
You know, people
just
don't like to be
suspicious
rude
about
either.
everybody and everything. Come again.
Yeah, I was saying, you know, people don't like to be rude either. You know, it seems as if you're being rude if you, you know, point fingers at somebody and say, oh, I think this person is suspicious. What if you turn out to be wrong? And then you would be the one jerk who pointed a finger at an innocent person.
You are very right, but which is the better of the evil? What I did on the plane, I didn't accost the person directly. I just called the stewards who have a right to call any one of us and search us.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. He even didn't know I did that. But when he came back and he was telling the other guys that, oh, this is what they did to me and that sort of thing, that was the point I came in. He diplomatically told him that, yes, it was his own behavior that created the condition for him to be accosted. So in all these things, you got to be very careful. I mean, if that guy who bombed the Colombo church was accosted rudely by any other person at the church grounds, he would have detonated the device anyway. So you would have been more polite by calling the church guards or whatever it is to accost him politely and move him away from there. Or whilst you're doing that, somebody calls the police. So you don't just attack the person. Hey, why are you dressed like this? We suspect that you are a terrorist. He would have detonated the thing on you anyway.
Right. So let's also talk about suspicious packages. Because we know that sometimes terrorists are not suicide bombers. They might just come and leave a package somewhere and walk away. I noticed how cavalier Ghanaians are about packages. You know, when we did that little experiment in the mall, I dropped my bag, got up, walked away, and nobody even noticed that I had left a bag there. And for 30 minutes, people came and went, saw that bag, sat next to it, got up. Nothing even crossed anybody's mind to consider that that was unusual. It shouldn't just be sitting there. And you know, that it might be a danger. More importantly, the mall security themselves, with all their CCTV and whatever, nobody noticed that.
Yes, Kojo, as I said, charity begins at home. If we don't train ourselves, our kids, to be more vigilant, we would continually ignore such packages and or admire them. Let me give you a typical example which happened in Shepherd Bush in London. An experiment was made. A very beautiful handbag, traveling bag, was placed along the road with a clock which was ticking loudly. And people were running. People saw it, and people were trying to call the police. But a young man, black guy, went straight to the thing, dislocated the clock and took the bag. As he was walking, the police just arrested him. It was just to create awareness. People had seen the bag, and they were conscious about it. They wanted to call the police. This black man wanted, because the bag was so beautiful a bag. And it's just the same thing in our Ghana. When you see something very beautiful, you want to walk towards it. If we don't try to begin by making people conscious about things that that they don't know about, that you don't go near, they will do it. What we need now is to start some kind of lessons for kids, for adults, and for everybody. In Afghanistan, for example, in Iraq, in Israel especially, children have been taught never to take a candy from the ground, because most of these things are bombs, or pencil, or pens. You don't take them, you don't pick them. They are not, you didn't put them there. Leave them. But we are not, our children's bags that they take to school, you see it by the roadside, don't go near it. It's not yours. But over here, we see them, and we want to even love them, go for them, and make them our properties. So we need to begin from somewhere, create the awareness. Other than that, you put your bag there, and somebody will rush to it, like the young man rushed for it in London, and would pick the bag because they might think that there is some money in. And especially in our part of the world, where we always believe in whatever charity, and we believe in God in a certain strange way. He would even go for the bag and say, kind of. So let us begin somewhere. Your outfit, what you have started is very good. But can we have a national program kind of making people aware of the dangers of going towards things that you do not know about, or being conscious and meticulous about things around you?
Doc,
look around and say, look, this thing was not here yesterday, or these things were not here the other time. How come?
Doc, let me ask this one last question before we go. I read a report that since 9/11, and this report was authored in 2017, so 2 years ago. So at that time in 2017, there had been 97 other terror attempts on U.S. soil that had been thwarted since 9/11. Okay, so from 2001 to 2017, 97 separate cases that were prevented. And they were all prevented because somebody saw something and said it.
Right.
So either a member of security services was observing, or some chatter, saw something that didn't make sense and reported it, and so they thwarted it. Or some old lady in the community saw somebody behaving. Now, I thought that we were even more communal than the Western, society. So what's the missing link, and what can we do to make Ghanaians be a bit more vigilant of people around them in communities, and actually encourage Ghanaians to report things that don't make sense?
Two things, Kojo. Yes, we are communalistic more than the West. They are very individualistic, but then they are community conscious. We are not. In that part of the world, you see something within the community which will disturb the community, you talk against it, you stand up against it. For even if a railway line is going to be constructed within the community, and you believe that you don't want it, one person stands up and the rest would follow. In our community, this is not the case. The second thing is also that even though we are communalistic and communal, you would realize that we are more of believing that the government has to do for me what I have to do. And probably the third is that governments themselves are to blame for making us believe that everything must be done for us. Cleaning our environment even. I'm told that in North Korea and Russia's, during the revolution, there is nobody paid to come and clean the streets. When you wake up, the street behind you, you clean your part, others clean. And so by the close of the day, everybody had cleaned the street.
Yeah.
And I'm told in Korea, it's still functioning. But people are throwing things into the gutters. What do we do? The government must come and clean it. So these three things are the real situations where we behave differently from people who are more individualistic and who should not have cared.
Yeah.
But we rather don't care. The government will come and do it. The government must. The government must. And government always promises also that I will. I will. That is bad for us, Kodio.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much. I wish we could get into this even more, but you've really, really opened our eyes to a lot of very important details around the mentality of spotting suspicious behavior and packages. Dr. Vladimir Inchi Danso, our security analyst for today, we appreciate you.
You're very welcome, Kodio.
Wonderful. Now, I'll tell you what, we'll be bringing you graphics and tips, specific things that you can pick up and practice to ensure that you are more vigilant when you're out and about. And we'll be bringing them to you across the day on this channel. Also on social media, we'll be putting up some infographics for your education, all right, as the JoyNews Security Week continues. But coming up next is Showbiz. Selinam has all the headlines. Before that, you know, the Joy Business Wellness Center wellness trade show actually is about to happen. It starts next week, Thursday, but we're going to learn a little bit about it in just a moment.